Hey friends, I hope you're having an amazing day. This is a shameless plug going out to my free downloads. I just loaded up cycling snacks. So these are a great way to make your own healthy snacks for training inside, outside, or for the family. So go to askcoachsylvie.com and download them today. All right, welcome back to an episode of Secrets in the Saddle, All Things Cycling podcast with your host Sylvie Dow here, sitting in beautiful Chelsea, Quebec, Canada. And we have a really, really extraordinary individual here as a guest today, Steve Merker. He is the vice president of the the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation, first off. And he's also the lead for the Ride to Conquer Cancer. Now, we were just chatting before we started here, and you guys, I am so honored and have the privilege of bringing this guy, because he is not only leading up the Ride to Conquer Cancer right now, but his background goes back to being the executive director of the OCA. And he also mentioned before, he used to lead sorry, it's my mom. Lead the 24 hours of adrenaline before that. And I'm like, oh my God, I participated in that. So anyways, it's just such a great honor. He has such a wealth of knowledge behind him. And I'm so excited to have him here today to talk about his past and what he's doing for the present and the future. Welcome, Steve.
Sylvie, great to be here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for that intro.
Oh my gosh, Steve, you have no idea, like I was saying, how excited to have someone like yourself on the podcast who has so many different things that have had to do with cycling. Like, I mean, in the last 20 years, right? Because when I did 24 hours, I was saying 2004, and you were probably one of the guys on the sidelines at Hardwood Hills. But I always love to start with, like how you got into cycling, and then we'll talk about everything.
Sure. Well, so I grew up as a competitive swimmer. That was my jam as a youth. I used to race against like Alex Bauman and Victor Davis and Mark Tewksbury. That was my sort of vintage. And, I was sort of, when I was younger, I was on track on the bubble for Olympics, but I never quite made it, but always a super competitive athlete. And I would always bike to my swim practices. So that was my so I was a bike commuter first. And then, I had a buddy who got into bike racing. He actually did track racing. He raced with Kurt Harnett. And so I would go out occasionally with him on some bike rides in, north of Brampton, where I grew up. So then in, I think it was early 80s, like 1982, I'm going back. One of the guys on the swim team said, hey, there's this really cool thing called the triathlon. We should try it. I'm like, okay, that sounds like fun. And so we registered for this triathlon in Cambridge. And because triathlon wasn't even really a thing back then, it was a swim, run, bike. That's how it went. Yeah, like really, like they didn't have any rules. Like I would suggest it might have been the first triathlon in Canada. We got our bib numbers. We got a t-shirt with an iron on, and our number was ironed onto the front of our shirt.
Oh, no way.
It was like felt number on the front of my shirt. So I borrowed my dad's like rusty old CCM 10-speed, and we did the swim. Of course, being a swimmer, I was like first out of the water, and then the run, and then the bike. And I'm not built for running, but I was built for cycling. A little bit big for a cyclist, but strong enough legs. So that was my first foray into real bike riding and racing, and then from there I went on and did a lot more triathlon. I actually did Kona in '93. I did Penticton and Kona, fun fact, I broke the world record for the fastest swim in an Ironman back in '93.
Whoa.
So,
is it still holding?
No, I heard somebody broke it, but you know what, the swim portion of a triathlon, it's so hard to like the distance, so you never know if the event organizer gets it right. So that's my
Right.
why I still don't have the record, but that's another story.
They got all the fancy gadgets now too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. We didn't have any of that back then. It was the Timex Ironman watch where you had to press the button to get your split. And so did Ironman and all that kind of stuff. And then I can't remember. I guess it was the early '90s when I was working in the fitness industry, selling memberships for a sort of a high-end fitness club, and then I was put in touch with a guy who had just started the first 24 hours of adrenaline in Ontario, and he was looking for a partner to help build that event. So I joined him, and we had this huge success on our hands from day one. We had just we call it the Woodstock of mountain biking. It was just this gathering of this community, and we had the people who were like racing and intense, but then we had people that were just social, wanted to have fun and spin some laps through the night. So had a ton of fun growing that program, the 24 hours of adrenaline, like across Ontario, across the country. And then we went into the US and we had 12 events across North America with the traveling road show. And it was a ton of fun I think I did that for 7 years. And
I remember those days. Like I was telling Steve that I participated in 2004 with, and I had it was like the thing to do every summer. It's like, who's going and what are the teams going to look like? And we had this huge campsite with like our set up tent and our campers and everything. And honestly, I was in a competitive team. So it was a group of 5 women. And I was telling Steve, back then we did not have the fancy lights that we have now. And I was just saying that I had this little Tika light, like this little headlamp, and like headlamps aren't even what they were today. They're way more expensive back then, like trying to survive the night, but anyways, it was just a load of fun because we had kids, we had there's serious groups of bigger teams, smaller teams. And it was like the thing to do every summer. Like
we had so much fun putting on that event, and the people there really wanted to, have some fun as well. I think cycling in general back then was we're looking for those kind of fun, just different kind of events, and not just going to a mountain bike Cup or a road race. And so this was something that was different, and it appealed. That was the biggest cycling festival in the country back then. The one that we did at Hardwood Hills.
Yeah, anybody could do it, right? Like you could just go and do one lap out of a team of 10. And you just have fun the rest of the time. It was so much fun.
It resonated. We had great events right across. We did one at the Canmore Nordic Center, and that lasted for many years. Out at Silver Star Resort in BC and Tremblant. We did it all across Canada, and it really resonated. So after I finished up my partnership, kind of split apart after 7 years of running that event, and then I joined the Ontario Cycling Association as their executive director, and was there for 4 years, and that was a real eye opener. Dealing with the I always joke, for people who follow hockey, there's Gary Bettman is like the commissioner of the NHL, and he's not very well liked. So I was like the commissioner of the Ontario Cycling Association.
Oh yeah, you're like everybody used to love me. Now they don't like me.
Yeah, you have to enforce the rules, and something would happen at a bike race, and you have to suspend a rider, because something happened during but it was a really great experience, and I got to meet a lot of people, road racers, the BMX crowd, mountain bikers, and everything else. So and then I got a call. Actually, here's I don't know if you know Adam Ruppel, or Chico Racing.
I've heard of Chico Racing.
Yeah, so Chico Racing, he runs a ton of different kinds of events. So he called me up because he was our big event organizer at the Ontario Cycling Association. He called me up to Steve, I got a call from a headhunter looking for me to come and help start an event at the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation, but I'm
Oh.
not interested. And he said, you know what? I think you're the perfect guy for this role. So I said, well, thank you for thinking of me. And so he introduced me to the headhunter. We had a couple of meetings. And then I ended up joining the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. And what they wanted to do was put on Canada's biggest bike ride fundraiser. And
you're like, woof, this is a better deal than being in the OCA, being at the front of the front line.
Well, and here's another fun fact. At the same time I was interviewing for the Princess Margaret role, I was interviewing to become the CEO of the Canadian Cycling Association.
Oh.
So I was going through multiple interviews with the board at the Canadian Cycling Association, and then I had this opportunity at Princess Margaret, and I kind of going through the process. I made this big long list of pros and cons, and I felt the Princess Margaret opportunity for one of the reasons why is because we were building something from brand new, and that appeals to me, and we had the ability to take cycling to that next level. We were going to invest in marketing cycling and getting people engaged in the sport of bike riding. Just getting the average weekend warrior out there and getting them on a bike and getting them to ride because they're passionate about cancer and they want to make a difference.
Yeah.
So I took the role at the Princess Margaret. We created, the brand and the routes, and we licensed it eventually, but created Ride to Conquer Cancer in 2007, and then we licensed it across Canada in 2008, and now it's Canada's largest athletic fundraiser, and it's been wonderful, like just amazing to be a part of this thing for now 15 years. Our anniversary is coming up this year.
Yeah, I noticed that, and my cycling club, we're into our 14th year, so I was like, oh my gosh, we started like relatively around the same time. Now, so it mentions here that you've collectively raised over several $100 million for this.
Yeah, well, our ride here in Ontario, we just crested $230 million raised after last year. And we celebrate the money, which is awesome, but really it's what about the money empowers the scientists and researchers to do at the Princess Margaret. Like the Princess Margaret Cancer Center is not just about the people who happen to be treated there in Toronto. It's about research that benefits everyone in Ontario, across Canada, because it's what I like to call it open source code for cancer research. So if we make a discovery, we share that with the world. So people, in Germany, in Japan, in the US, they can benefit from that. Likewise, when they make a discovery, our scientists can build and riff off of their discoveries so that, the global community who are dealing with cancer can benefit from it. So we play a pretty big role in the global community in cancer research, and our bike ride helps really supercharge the research that goes on at Princess Margaret.
Now, I've always wondered, Steve, what's the percentage of the money generated that goes towards cancer research, like the research part? Because there's a lot of, like the advertising, that the admin part, and I've heard it's like only 25%. Is that true?
No, it's the reverse, basically. So it's a good question.
Glad to hear that.
It's it's always an interesting question that people ask that, that one. But here's, when I do this presentation to our corporate crowd occasionally, and I have one slide. And the slide is the front desk of the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. This is pre-pandemic. This is when people would actually come into our office.
Yeah.
And the slide was our front desk and the lovely Jennifer, who sits there and welcomes people as they come in the door. And I took a picture of it on a Wednesday at noon, and there was nobody there except for Jennifer. And yet this is despite cancer is the #1 disease killing Canadians. There's never a lineup of people coming in the door, handing over checks to say, hey, we want to support cancer research. So what do we have to do? We have to put on events. We have to run lottery programs. We have to, ask people and invite them to donate. And people don't always willingly just do that. But if you run an event like the Ride to Conquer Cancer, that engages people, and it inspires them to raise money on our behalf, So we do have to do some marketing. We do get great deals, and some of our advertising is all sponsored. But we do have to, the police who support our event, we have to pay them. Like, they don't come for free. And,
right.
When we book Exhibition Place or Niagara Falls for a finish line, they don't come for free. So we do have to spend money. But you know what? When we spend 25, percent of what we raise, and we can still have net, in our biggest year, there was a few years where we raised over $20 million within one event. So think about, like $13 million net that actually goes to research, right? Like, there's some great events out there which are all volunteer led, and maybe even the local cop donates his time, and the grandmas make the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and so everything's donated. But maybe a bike ride like that raises $200,000. Well, and 100% return to charity, but $200,000 barely keeps the lights on in a lab for a year, whereas $13 million net can really make a difference and make an impact in cancer research. So yeah, we do have to spend some money, but it's we take a social entrepreneur approach to our foundation. So we spend a little bit of money to make a massive amount of money, which can make a big impact in cancer research.
Yeah, I noticed that you are all over social media, and maybe it's just because I clicked on you that that I'm seeing it all. Yeah.
We're like a bad rash. We're following you around forever until you join.
I know. It's like, it's like when you go shopping, don't click. You'll forever be seeing it. But that's a good thing, because then I was like, oh my God, I should, reach out and learn more about this. So tell me more about the event itself. Is it always the same course? Is it change? Is it always in Toronto? I think it's always in Toronto, right? Tell me about the event this year, I guess.
Yeah, so this year we're, fingers crossed, we're going to actually run an in-person event on June 11th and 12th. The ride has always started in Toronto,
right,
and finished in Niagara Falls, although we do have a start line in Niagara Falls as well. So just because the demand and we had so much pressure on our Toronto start line that we added a Niagara Falls start line a few years ago. So
what do you mean a Niagara Falls start line?
So we basically start the event simultaneously.
Oh, you go in the reverse?
Yeah. So we have.
Oh, you had like.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, cool.
So, but it's a 2-day bike ride, over 200 kilometers, and but over 2 days. So we start in either Toronto or Niagara Falls. Everyone rides on day 1 to Hamilton.
Oh my God.
Right. So
really?
We have a huge festival on Saturday afternoon and early evening at McMaster University. So we call that the Woodstock of bike riding.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then on day 2, everybody, gets up early in the morning, starts in Hamilton and finishes in Niagara Falls. And literally the mist is, greeting you as you come across the finish line on Sunday. So it's a 2-day ride. It amounts to about, well, we actually have on the first day, we do have a 100-mile option for the hammerheads. But for the regular people, it amounts to about, I would say, 220 kilometers. And for a lot of the people that do our event, that's the furthest they've ever ridden in their lives. We do have a lot of serious bike riders who, have touched by the disease and they want to, support. And we have a lot of corporate teams with, and it's amazing the number of high-ranking business people that love to bike ride. And then the community, there's so many amazing people that come out and support. So you have people riding $20,000 unbelievable bikes, riding at 38 kilometers an hour, and then you have a story of a woman who lost her leg to cancer from osteosarcoma, and she's riding on a 3-wheel trike with one leg, pulling and pushing with one leg, right? And she's going 12 kilometers an hour. So we have everything in between. So it's the community that is really palatable, and it's special at this event.
Okay, so let me get this right. You have on Saturday, you have a start event starting in Toronto and a start in Niagara Falls, and you both stop and sleep at Hamilton, party it up, and then everybody goes and finishes at Niagara.
That's right.
Okay. Exactly. So is the Niagara to Hamilton, is that shorter than like the full distance?
No, it's the Niagara to Hamilton. So we make it so that it's over 100 kilometers. So we want people
Okay.
to commit to riding over 100 kilometers. It's flatter. We're not going up and down the escarpment, so it's a little bit flatter.
Right.
So yeah.
So it's like 50
not,
or 60K one way, and then
no. It's 105 one way.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So everybody's riding over 200 kilometers over 2 days. Yeah.
Okay, I got it. So are there any other so everybody has to ride that distance regardless? There's no shorter distance starts that go to, no. Okay, everybody, 100 kilometers.
You got
awesome.
It. Although, you know what, we do have sweet vehicles. Like there's some people who participate who are like in their 70s. And in fact, now we do allow e-bikes for those people. Like maybe there's someone that's actually going through cancer treatment and they haven't done any training. So if they want to use an e-bike because they've been touched by cancer, then have at it. Or if somebody's in their 70s and 100 kilometers, maybe a little bit too far for them, hey, get on a sweet vehicle, don't be a hero, and we'll take you 10 kilometers from the finish line and you can finish with everybody else.
Okay.
So we do sweep some people that need it, but I would say 98% of the people finish the complete distance of the 200 plus
Wow,
kilometers.
that is really fascinating. I love it. So, okay, so tell me how you can get involved, or if you do you have to raise money? Because some of these charity events you have to raise money, or you can just pay to participate and that goes towards the charity. Tell me about it. Teams,
absolutely.
everything.
Well, there's we have like over 400 teams.
Oh my God, wow.
I would say, half of which are like corporate based, but then the other half are community based. And there is a minimum fundraising. So it's we ask people to take on the dual challenge of riding over 200 kilometers, but also raising $2,500. So it's a big deal. Like, but that's how we raised $20 million in
right.
Okay. In June. So it's a big and bold sort of audacious goal for people to raise that much money, but we support our riders in every possible way. Like we give them a personal page, we reach out to them, we ask them if they want a training program or they want a fundraising program, right? So we want to support the riders as much as we can to get them over that fundraising minimum. The website is ride2conquer.ca. So I mean, you can just Google it; it should come up. It should come up number one.
And then it'll keep coming up.
Yeah, and then it'll click on it and it'll keep following you around.
That's right. You must do this event.
Yeah.
Now, okay, here's a big question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you can either participate as a solo person and raise the money, or you can participate as a team and raise the money. Now, here's the question. Like, if you start in Toronto and you bike to Niagara, how do you get back to Toronto?
Oh, yeah, I guess okay. So yeah,
don't forget that logistic.
We've got that put off. So when you show up Saturday morning in Toronto, all you need is your bike, a helmet, and a gear bag. So you get dropped off. You can park there. You throw your gear bag on a truck. The truck drives to Hamilton. All you got to do is ride. We feed you. We have like these full service pit stops along the way every 30 kilometers. You get to Hamilton, your gear bag is waiting for you. So you take your bike, you put it in our secured parking lot, bike parking lot. You get your gear bag. We have shower trucks, so you get cleaned up. We feed you. We've got Steam Whistle as a sponsor, so we have a wine sponsor as well. So we take care of you, soup to nuts in Hamilton. So then Sunday morning, you take.
Okay, are you sleeping in the dorms?
Sleeping in the dorms. We do provide tents also. We have these pop-up tents that some people love to sleep in pop-up tents. So we have probably 2,000 people sleeping in a pop-up tent. Believe it or not, it's a camp out.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and then there's probably 2,000 people sleeping in the dorms, and then some people go to the local hotels in Hamilton, or if people live locally, they might go home. But Sunday morning, you get your gear bag, you jam all your nasty clothes back into your gear bag. You throw it on another truck. You get on your bike. You ride to Niagara Falls. You get to Niagara Falls, and we have more trucks waiting for you. So we have, and buses. So we have coach buses. So you put your bike on one of our trucks. We pack them perfectly. We've never had a bike issue. We bring the bikes back to Exhibition Place. You get on, you shower, and then you get on. We hope you shower. And then you get on. You get on one of the coach buses, which drives you back to the start line in Toronto, where your bike is waiting for you. So we take care of you. We'll ship you back to Toronto. Some people have like their wife or their husband or their mother like waiting for them at the finish line, and they'll drive them back. But a lot of people take our bus ride back.
Whoa! Now that's quite the operation. I'm trying to think of.
It's pretty gnarly at the finish line in Niagara Falls, because you've got like literally you're almost right beside the falls. It's a pretty narrow street. There's a strip of land where we stage the whole event, and the trucks are backing in, and like it's controlled chaos.
So there's no party at Niagara. You basically roll in, and then you're trying to truck people out at the same time. Oh, there's a party there too?
Yeah, we have steam whistle there also, and we have a big barbecue. So people come across the finish line, they'll grab a pulled pork sandwich and some salad and have a beer or a glass of wine or a Coke or whatever. Yeah. And then so they have a couple of drinks, and then they get on the bus, and the bus is literally everyone's fast asleep because they've just ridden 220 kilometers over 2 days. They've had
they drank all night the night before.
Right. So, and they're like these people are celebrating. They're celebrating life. Like maybe they lost somebody. Maybe they're a cancer survivor. Maybe they're riding on behalf of a good friend. So they're emotionally drained. They're physically drained. They get on that bus, and it's just like dead quiet because everyone's like, really,
it's like coming back from Daytona Beach.
True enough. Just the bus driver, thankfully, keeps it.
You're like, I'll be the one driving back to Toronto, so I don't have to hear anybody. Wow. Now, oh my gosh, I had no idea of the logistics.
It's a massive feat of logistics, and the pit stops. Like you show up to our pit stops, and we've got music pumping. We've got like a full lunch. For everybody. We've got bike techs there. We've got nurses on site in case you need medical support, sunscreen, Advil, safety. We've got it all. So we want to make sure our riders are taken care of when they participate.
Holy moly, that is amazing, Steve. Okay, now just a second. I had a question there. I can only I've done events not of this magnitude. Like I've done the Ride for MS, smaller scale, bike back and forth, like to Cornwall or to Kemptville when it was here in Ottawa. Really impressed with that. I couldn't believe it. I think there's speed stops every 10 kilometers. I'm like, what? There's more food. I'm like, but yeah, wow. Okay. How many people do you allow to participate?
So we typically cap it at about 5,000 riders, like in a normal year. 5,000, yeah. So it's a big deal. Like there's a lot of people out there. Like, with the pandemic, the last 2 years have been virtual or hybrid, so we really haven't been able to do what we used to be able to do. This year, we're anticipating because of Omicron and people are a little bit gun shy to get involved right now, but we're seeing our registrations really pick up as people think about what am I going to do this year? Like, what's my goal? So they're using the Ride to Conquer Cancer as their sort of their North Star, their focal point, a goal to fundraise.
Their spring goal,
And their spring, and people are, they're buying Pelotons or they're Zwifting, and they're getting in shape, and we're hoping that they're starting to fundraise, right? So the sad thing with the other, like, there's so many sad things with COVID and the pandemic and the lockdown. The good thing is I've done more Zwifting ever, but
I noticed your Swift handle there. I'm like, oh, I got to go follow you and then follow you on Strava. And
but the bad thing is that there's still a ton of people being hurt by their cancer, and the thing is that their usual checkups that they to go and see if something's underlying going wrong with them, and they've delayed those appointments. So we feel like there could be a lot of underlying cancer out there that people don't know. They haven't gone for the mammograms or their paps or their colonoscopies. And so there could be a big wave of cancer in a year from now from people who didn't get checked in the last 2 years during the pandemic. So for us, it's so important to help double down on the cancer fundraising so that we can have our researchers make more discoveries, which will help benefit the people who eventually do and sadly get diagnosed. So that's something we feel.
Has that been the research? Has it been able to continue regardless of?
Well, some research,
like, because this has to be done in like on location in labs.
But Sylvia, it has impacted the research a little bit because people weren't able to come in, or some of the clinical trials because the patients weren't coming in or registering for these clinical trials. So it has slowed things a little bit. But the fact that we weren't able to raise as much money through events in the past 2 years also. So we're hoping to see a bit of a rebound effect as people sort of emerge from their basement, their Zwifting caves and
that's right.
So that
let's see how strong you really are out on the road.
Yeah, exactly. No cheating on the weight, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, so how has that impacted the research capabilities if you were not able to bring in, say, half of what you normally would? Like, can you talk about like the last 2 years, like how that's kind of put those setbacks, and let's just drive it home how important this is, that
it's hugely important.
People make this a priority.
We're so at Princess Margaret, our foundation, we're lucky. We have a pretty diversified fundraising portfolio. So we have a lottery program, and we sell a lot of lottery tickets.
Talk about that. I wanted to ask you about the lottery program. What is that?
It's just this amazingly successful program where, people, we sell a limited number of tickets, so your chances to win are higher, but we sell these aspirational homes or cottages.
Get out of town.
It's amazing. So like a home, it might be worth $5 million in like Caledon or Oakville, and people don't generally keep the homes when they win them. They sell them and take cash. But people love the idea of winning these homes and touring them online, or pre-pandemic actually touring them in person. And so people we know that the people who buy our tickets want to support a cause, and they like the chance to win. So
it's like pandemic, it's like the Chio Dream House lottery here. Okay.
So that program has actually done well for us. So that's helped backfill some of the losses that we've incurred, or not losses, but lack of fundraising on events. But there's been a lot of, like, Canadian Cancer Society saw a massive reduction in their fundraising abilities. As any event-driven charity saw a massive drop. And so our researchers benefit from a lot of that money, right? So we fund them to a large degree, but we also, our researchers receive grants from organizations like the Terry Fox Foundation or like Canadian Cancer. Because those events have declined, the research grants have declined a little bit, but luckily our programs like our lottery, we have some major gift supporters that have stepped up. So we're just kind of hanging in there, but we're trying to communicate to our community that we need you now more than ever to step up, participate in our Ride to Conquer Cancer, or on any number one of our events that might speak to you, because we've got road hockey events, we have walks, we have runs, we've got, you name it, we've got it all. But the ride is certainly our largest event. I mean, it's the largest fundraising event in Canada. So we're hopefully inspiring people to get on board and double down on their cancer fundraising, because everyone's been touched by cancer in some way or another, right? So we're hopeful that people will be inspired to take on our cause and help support.
Yeah, I know my mom had breast cancer a number of years ago. She's still with us, thankfully. Yeah, love mom. Thank God. But like I said, I think there can't be one person that hasn't been touched by cancer in some sort of way. So is there anything else that you can tell? I can't think of any other questions that I have, if as a potential participant. How easy is it to sign up a team, and how big can the teams be? Does it matter?
No, we have teams of 2. We have teams of we have one team based out of Niagara Falls that typically has like 250 riders on it, and they raise usually $1 million a year, just one team.
Holy,
right?
What company? Are they from one company, or is it just a bunch of people?
It's kind of a hybrid community company team. The guy who runs this team, he runs a small steel rebar company in Niagara Falls, but he's really just engaged. He's engaged everyone in his company, all his vendors, but also his community. He's really connected to a lot of people. So they all,
that's super
in
cool.
fact, I know he has a couple of people in Ottawa that come down and ride on his team every year. So they're just great fundraisers. I would say almost none of them are like a bike rider. Like they ride their bikes to support this cause, but they're not bike riders. Like, someone would call me a bike rider because I ride year round. And
you got the spandex, you got the kit.
Yeah. So we have tons of teams, and we have a lot of people that will start a team. Like there's a team called Carly's Angels. So Carly Allison was this amazing young woman who sadly passed away from her cancer a few years ago. So the family and friends started a team called Carly's Angels in her honor. And so they have a team of, I would say 30 people every year that ride to sort of honor and remember Carly. And so it's kind of a celebration of life for her. And we have so many stories like that, they're riding in honor of someone, or somebody on the team is still dealing with their cancer, and they're riding to support that person. So many teams, and like I said, over 400 teams participate, and they all have their own. What we do when you participate in the ride and you hit your fundraising minimum, we send you like the Ride to Conquer Cancer jersey, kind of a badge of honor. You get to wear it. So we ask people to wear their Ride to Conquer Cancer jersey on day one, like the Saturday, and then on Sunday you see everyone riding their team kit. And you see all these amazing, colorful, different, awesome looking kits from all these different teams. And so, it's really cool to see.
All right. So here's one more question. Okay. If I want to, now you said it's pretty easy to register. Now, if I was like kind of concerned about how easy it is to get the whole fundraising back end set up, what do you do for those? Like, so say I decide that I'm going to put together a team from my club. How would I go about doing it?
So the team captain would sign up first. So it's really easy to.
And you just add your people?
Yeah, you can start a team. Well, no, you'd start a team. You can also call. We have like a 1-800 number you can call, and one of our ride guides can help walk you through the process. So you'd you'd start a team. You would be the team captain. You can designate co-captains if you like, but then you would then take the link to your team and send it to your friends or whoever's going to join the team and say, hey, I'm going to do Ride to Conquer Cancer in June. Love to have you join me. Here's the link. And then they would join your team. And then we would assign like a ride guy would sort of be your contact, at our office to help support you, to help you set up your personal page if you needed help, or we have like fundraising badges you can add to your email. We do host training rides. Like we're actually, tomorrow's World Cancer Day and February 4th. So I'm leading a Zwift Ride to Conquer Cancer thing at 7:30 in the morning. So we have.
I'm working out at 7:30. Dang.
Yeah, you'll miss it. But anyways, so there's always lots of stuff going on. It's not like you sign up and we hope to see you in June. It's like you sign up and we have different events throughout the year. To help inspire people. We want to put our doctors and researchers also on a pedestal to explain to the fundraisers, where the money's going. So you really get a sense of the difference and the impact that we're making. We do have a one-day option for those who can only ride on one day, and it's slightly lower minimum fundraising. There's also a virtual ride with no minimum fundraising. So if you just wanted to be a part of Ride to Conquer Cancer and you live in Halifax, then do your own ride in Halifax, and you can raise whatever you can. Or if you want to volunteer, we need like 1,000 volunteers to make this event happen. So volunteers can. There's no minimum fundraising for a volunteer, of course, but We do have a lot of volunteers who will do some fundraising just to feel like they're a part of it and they're making a difference, like on the ground, working, all weekend long, but also fundraising as well. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved.
Holy moly. Wow. Okay. Like, I am totally inspired, Steve. I've got the little, the little hamsters going.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
like,
let me tell you this quick story about,
okay, story.
So we have riders come from all over, like every province is represented at our ride on a typical year, 17 states and 7 countries. In fact,
Wow.
one year we had a guy who wanted to support a friend who was going through cancer treatment here in Toronto. So he flew in from Australia on Friday. He landed, he went straight to the bike shop. He rented a bike from the Gears bike shop in Mississauga. He rode Saturday, Sunday. He returned the bike on Monday and flew back to Australia on Monday, right? So this guy was so committed to support his friend. He comes all the way from Australia for a weekend to ride his bike for 2 days, and then he goes back home.
And he didn't even hang out.
Didn't even hang out. He just wanted to show his support for his friend. And so we have people come from Germany, they come from Australia, all over the US. So it's great to see this massive sort of global community come together. And and then the global community benefits from the research that happens at the Princess Margaret as well.
That is really cool. I didn't realize that you had outside Canada participants, but I guess you're right along the New York, the border.
New York is right there. And
New York.
About when you're riding from Toronto to Niagara Falls, it's kind of like Niagara Falls is the world. Like, it's kind of aspirational for a lot of people to do a ride like that.
Okay, that road must be closed, obviously.
We only close the beginning, like when we're getting out of the city, but then we go onto country roads, and certainly we have a lot of police presence and support. Like the main intersections, of course, we have police there, but once we're out on a country roads, like, it's almost impossible for us to have a road closure all the way to Niagara Falls. But obviously, huge amount of support from the communities and volunteers and then we also make sure that motorists are aware that we're coming through town. So they typically stay away when you have 5,000 people going down the road.
It's like, no, I might as well go somewhere else this weekend. Oh my gosh, that is so fascinating, Steve. I am wow. Now, I don't have any more questions. I'm all questioned out. I think I've got all my information. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience? Because we are going to put down all the places where they can find you. You're basically everywhere. You can also follow Steve all over Twitter, Strava. If you're a Swifter, you can follow him there too. Give him some ride-ons while he's training. Is there anything left that you want to share?
I think we've covered it all. And I really appreciate you, Sylvie, putting us sort of on this pedestal and having the opportunity to hopefully inspire people to think about channeling their inner bike rider in a good way. Like, I know there's a lot of bike racers who are pretty focused on their racing, but consider this as a really great event to participate in and be a part of this massive community to making a difference in our world. And there's a lot of great and honestly, if you want to jam and get in a little pack and go 40 kilometers an hour, then there are people that do that, absolutely. But I just hope that people will consider, if they haven't already, take on the challenge of raising over $2,500, riding over 200 kilometers and being a part of our community, making a difference. So join our peloton, I guess, is my final message.
I love it. And so you don't have to do it by yourself. You can grab a couple friends. I know for me, and I don't want to break your last words, because it's always the fundraising, I think, that comes down to it. People are just like, can I just pay? But you're like, no, you have to fundraise, because
and that's part of it. When just to go back quickly, when we first launched the ride to conquer cancer, and people told us we were crazy to ask people to demand that people raise the $2,500, and we heard them, but there's so many bike rides out there, and they're all there's a lot of very similar bike rides. And for us to make a really big impact with our cancer research program, we needed to do something big and bold. So we didn't want to be like all the other rides with either no minimum or a low minimum. We and we modeled it after a bike ride that was hugely successful in the US called the Pan Mass Challenge. So we knew we were inspired by the possible down there in Boston. So we took that. I actually, full disclosure, I did my R&D, which is called rip off and duplicate. I went down and did,
well, why not? Like, if it works,
I went down
just
to the
like
US.
duplicate it. I'm all for that.
I did the Pan Mass Challenge in Boston back in 2007. I took all the good ideas, we Canadianized it, and then, we launched our Ride to Conquer Cancer. So we were inspired by the possible down there, and then it was a home run since day one, and that's why we're still the number one fundraising event in the country.
I really do like that it goes to one research center, and because I think like a lot of events, you're like, okay, we're raising, this is for this charity and that charity, but it's like, where exactly is that money going? Because they're not necessarily attached to like a specific place.
Yeah,
like it's just going to the big cancer pot. You know what I mean? Like,
so here's so when you're supporting Princess Margaret, it's like you're bypassing the middleman. Like, you give to some cancer, national cancer fundraising organizations will collect the money, and then they grant it out. So they don't actually do the research, whereas we have researchers. In fact, we're the largest research organization in the country. So you skip the middleman when you're giving directly, through the ride or any one of our programs. So you're bang on, Sylvie. Like that's you're giving to an organization. And one of the things that we did a lot of pre-pandemic is we would bring the teams in for a tour and meet the researchers who are benefiting. So for us, it's so important to share how the money's making an impact. So we've been doing some of that on Zoom, in the past 2 years, because we want you to know that, all your hard work as a fundraiser is actually producing results. And so we want to share that as best we can. So it's in our best interest to continue to do that. Yeah.
And then exactly where it's going, and your name is attached to it. So I'm coming to find you. No, it's kidding. But that makes me even more motivated. I have to tell you, Steve, that it goes to something that's Canadian, and it's in Toronto, and it's and it's staying in the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I always find I'm always skittish about those charity events, because you just don't know where all the money is going. But I like it. I like it a lot. Right. And so with that, I promise you guys, we're not going to ask you more questions, but this has been amazing. I just want to thank all of our listeners and Steve for taking this time to come and share what this event is all about. And I honestly had no clue. I see the ads, and probably a lot of you do, but to really know about the event, it's this really is, it changes everything for me. I love the distance. I can't believe it's a 2-day thing. I didn't realize that. And I've always wanted to bike down there, to Niagara. I've heard so many great things about the countryside. Not to mention there's tons of wineries down there. Oh, yeah. And I haven't been to Niagara in such a long time. So I might even be able to make this into a family thing.
Great idea.
Everybody think about that.
Yep.
Just, I think it's Wolf Lodge that's down in Niagara. Just finish it right there.
Wolf Lodge. Yeah, you have kids. It's right there.
Yeah. So with that, I want to thank you, Steve, so much for coming out, and thanking our listeners. And like I said, more information, all the contacts will be on our show notes, so you can go and start putting your team together. I'm starting to think about people that I want to target on my team. And like Steve said, it doesn't matter how big the team is. I think the more, the better. $100 everybody, 25 people. Let's go.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. And maybe you'll see me there. Maybe I'll see you all. So if anybody's going to participate and you're going to put this on their race calendar, please reach out. Obviously, you'll be reaching out to Steve and reach out to me so that maybe we can say hi somewhere in the masses at the start line. But I'm so proud to have brought this to my podcast. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Sylvie.